Almost out of this stuff. Look at this little fry. I can see how he survived. He's very sneaky. Nice color on him too. I saw another little Mangano fry in here somewhere. I don't know where. Somewhere. That's the thing, they don't all make it. I still have this guy down here too. He's getting big. Honestly, I should put him in a grow-out tank, and it'd be nice to catch the other fry, put him in the grow-out tank, but good luck catching anything out of here. I've got at least 3 or 4 fish holding. I still struggle to catch those. If I could, I'd move them to a grow-out or quarantine tank. Right now, I've got some Agazzizii in my, what is supposed to be the grow-out tank. Right now it's acting more like a quarantine. We'll see what happens. I've got a lot of spare tanks nowadays, so I tend to just use the 15 gallons for non-medicated tanks and the 10 and 20 gallons for medication, because the number divides nice and even to all the medicines that are out there. Close that lid. It's crazy how much noisier the tank is when the lid's open. And you can see these guys are all doing really good. Weekly water changes still. This tank makes you know, because it will run dry from evaporation if you do not do water changes at least once a week. So it's almost a built-in reminder. Do a water change. You gotta do it. These guys put out a fair amount of waste. How the filter socks doing? Well, filter socks are still not dirty yet. I've got so many of them now, though. Makes it so I can do more of a full load of laundry with them instead of just doing like 3 socks at a time in the wash. It's kind of nicer that way, less of a waste. And they still clean up just as nice, even though they're covered in filth for a few weeks before they get washed. Doesn't really matter. What else? Let's maybe go over to the 29 and take a look at that, or maybe take a look at quarantine. Let's see what we got here. This is the quarantine setup. It's got a Tidal 55 on it, sponge filter. Right now it has a cobalt heater, but I think I may actually put the cheaper Aqueon Pro in there. Move the cobalt somewhere else, maybe to the tank below. It has a little PM1 there. It's got a pH probe, which I still need to calibrate, and a temperature probe, which is already mounted in the tank there. Yeah, so that's going to be the quarantine for salt water. And then below it is an empty 15 gallon. So that could still be many things at this point, but I'm thinking that it might be the freshwater grow out tank that I thought the other tank was going to be, but we'll see. Let me Let me do something real quick here. Gonna alright, swing over here, and this is what was supposed to be the grow out tank for cichlids. Right now, that is not what it is. I've got my pair of Agassiziis in here. So, there they are. Apologize for the dirty glass. Yeah, there's the male, the female. The male's got some nice color. Oh yeah, he's looking much more colorful now. When I just got him, he looked pretty pissed off, but I think he's getting used to this little tank here. Truth be told, this tank is it's kind of a bizarre thing here. It's got a piece of driftwood, which keeps the pH a little lower, and it's set up kind of like a quarantine, but it's basically just a watching tank. I had some autos in here for a while that I was quarantining, and now I'm just putting these guys in too. Watch the fish for 2 or 3 weeks, make sure nothing happens, and if they're all good, then they will get moved to where they're supposed to go. These guys probably actually need to get fed. I don't think I fed them yesterday. Cool little guys, though. I had apisto, I think, borellii before, and they didn't last very long on me, and I probably didn't really know what I was doing. I'm guessing I didn't do enough water changes or something, hard cycle the tank, or who knows what. Nowadays, most of my freshwater tanks are planted or have plenty of biomedia, so. Alright, that's all taken care of. The other thing going on is, of course, this tank. And it's still kind of blue right now. There's the wrasse. And the goby just sitting there. What else is going on in here? I'm sure the blenny and the jawfish are around as well. The sad news is I lost another angelfish. There is now... This tank kills dwarf angels, apparently. I don't know why, but dwarf angelfish do not like this tank. I lost an ebly, and then I lost a flameback, and then now I've lost a cherub. And I'm pretty upset about that, because that cherub seemed like it was doing good. I fed the corals that night, and when I fed the corals, I think I created a huge spike in nitrate and possibly nitrite, and almost caused a mini cycle, I think. And I also noticed my phosphate was very high, and my pH dropped, so my oxygen levels were probably suffering, and I guess all of that together took out my cherub angel. I don't know if anything else was really wrong with them. I mean, maybe it was just, in a sort of a weakened state just from being introduced. I feel like they are a little fragile compared to some of these other fish, but I don't know. I'm still a little sad about that. Maybe my tank's just not big enough for them. I don't know. This is a 29. It's not that small. I mean, it's almost a 40. Like, a 40 would just be a little longer and wider instead of taller. I mean, it's not that different in terms of the actual space available to the fish. I mean, especially at the rock work, I have a pretty good layout here. It's kind of open, but still a lot of caves and a lot of crevices, and I mean, the wrasse loves it. That's the thing, the angels love it too. They're always swimming in and out, and damsels love it. Everyone loves it. It's just, I don't know. If anyone has any ideas, the saltwater side of things, let me know. The 60, I've never had this problem. The 60 always is fine with salt, with the angelfish. My coral beauty, numerous times I thought it had a spot on it, or I thought it had something or the other. Of course, what it probably had was flukes, but I've just treated the tank for that, so it doesn't really matter now. But he never was bothered by it enough to be dead from it, Whatever maladies the tank had, it just survived anyway. It just, immune system, whatever. But it's the one problem with putting a freshwater tank below a saltwater tank. This is probably all dripped from up here. And you can see all the drips here. I don't think this water actually came from this tank. This looks like salt. Unfortunately, the reason I do this, I don't put salt below salt. I don't put fresh above salt or whatever, because quarantine purposes, most saltwater disease and most freshwater disease does not transfer from one to the other. But saltwater to saltwater, if this tank got ick and I had saltfish in here and it dripped in there, I mean, it's a minor risk, but it's still a risk. So I tend to, when I stack the tanks like this, I try to put an opposing tank on the bottom. So in this case, it's salt on top and fresh on bottom. I think I'm going to do the same thing on the other tank, salt on top and fresh on bottom. The question then is what do I do with the 10-gallon downstairs? Maybe that becomes I don't know. I think that becomes my medicated freshwater tank if I ever need a freshwater medication. Because the 20-gallon would be where I would medicate for salt. But, I mean, right now, there's no medication in it. There's no fish in it. So, I guess it could be watching or medication right now if I wanted it to be. I think from now on I may do Pro on all new fish in the quarantine tank as just a preventative. Truth be told, if I'm going to do that, I should probably just treat this tank for flukes preventatively, because I probably have flukes in it if I haven't done that right. I mean, this guy was in the other tank, and that tank had flukes. I mean, chances are there could be some low-grade level of it in here. Hey, maybe it's even what's killing off my angelfish. Hard to say. If anyone has any ideas, I'm always open to suggestions. Of course, not that many people are really watching these, so I'm not going to pretend. But it's nice to document my journey one way or another. This guy is in the quarantine, so once he's in the full tank, he should be looking nice and pretty. But I mean, he's already looking nice in here. Look at this guy. And the female in the back. These are pretty cool. I'm excited to see how how these guys do in the 20 long. And this is the 15, so their final tank is, just a few inches longer, just like that much longer. Basically, it's the same length as this tank above it, and you can see the difference. And so this is a 20. This can hold a 20 long, or a 29, or a 37. Anything that's 30 by 12, I think, is the dimension. And then on the bottom here, it can either hold a 10 or a 15. You could almost put a 20, but like a 20 high, but it would just leave you no room to work on it. And you're actually supposed to have the stand the other way, and there's like a wood piece and all this stuff, so it looks pretty, but I don't like having all that stuff in the way when I work on it, so I took the wood piece out, I flipped the whole thing backwards. So this is almost backwards from how the stand is supposed to be, but it leaves it nice and open here so I can actually work on it. And that's honestly more important than having some stupid deco looking, whatever it is, I don't know, it's modern looking thing. Like a piece of wood in the middle that swings open, it just bothers you. I read online that people just would run these backwards, so I was like, yeah, I'm going to just do that. Didn't take much thought. My other stand, I did the same thing, actually. It's like a cast iron, wrought iron stand. Where did they go? It's like I was trying to do a video with them on it. Oh, there's the female. They're not the most active fish, but I guess that's good, because they're not going in the biggest tank either. I mean, even in here, they'd probably be fine. Probably just leave them in here. Although I think they definitely prefer some substrate on the bottom. This is probably a little extreme. This tank is definitely a bit of a piecemeal. I've had all this biomedia, I was just trying to keep it alive, so I just sort of threw it in here. Including, it's all from the canister, this is part of the canister as well. It's a National Geographic, it's actually an Eheim Echo series that's been rebranded. I kind of like it because the colors are a little nicer than the Eheim. Like the tubes aren't that shitty green color, they're more of a gray. It's kind of nice. Look at that flame tail on him. Really nice color on this guy. The guy at the store actually said this was his fish, and he had to get rid of it because it was getting picked on, and it sounds like ultimately he ended up getting rid of all of them, but I just took a pair. That's all I need. I think he was trying to keep shrimp or something. Then again, I have shrimp in here, but they're big-ass Amano shrimp. He was trying to keep, like, ghost shrimp or one of those really hard-to-keep ones. I think he ended up getting rid of everything in the tank except for the shrimp or something. Using like RO water and stuff. Yeah, you can get crazy with freshwater shrimp, I guess. I've never done that. I just have the Amanos and the blue ones. Oh, there's Mr. Blenny. I love this little guy. Oop. Color's totally washed out. But oh well. Thinking about getting a skimmer for this tank, for the 29. I'm debating to even replace the title completely with the Aquamax HFM, it's called. It's basically like a skimmer combined with a hang-on back, combined with like almost a refugium or something. I don't know, it looks really cool. I'd kind of love to have the notion of a refugium and a skimmer and all that on this tank. And it also has a probe holder, so I could get the probes out of the tank. It's like they made this thing for me. It's like they knew what I wanted. I might have to buy it. We'll see. Alright, well. There's always something going on around here with the fish. Hopefully next update I do on these guys, then maybe they'll be in the tank. Although it might be another week or two I keep them in here. Just because I know I have gotten ick from the store that these came from before. It is one of my main stores, and I give them shit for it, but it is kind of somewhat unacceptable at times. But at least freshwater ick is usually easy to get rid of. If this tank ended up having ick, I'd probably just leave them in it and just raise the temp slowly to 88. This thing is on an Apex. It's got the Aqueon Pro. I can get the temperature dialed up very smoothly over time. No big deal. These guys will be alright. You see it's got a pH probe in here. This is the $37 Milwaukee one, I think. They work just as well. Oh, look at them. They're all swimming together. That's a very good sign. Hopefully that means they will pair up. I mean, they're not a true pair. We basically just picked a male and a female. But the store guy said he was pretty confident in the fact that these are male and female because basically they'd all gotten pretty big and they've been around a while and had time to color up and so on and so forth. So, pretty stoked about having a pair of these. We'll see if they breed. I never seem to have too much trouble with the big guys. Of course, this is a completely different continent, and they're going into a completely different tank. So, yeah, we'll see how they do in the planet tank. That tank, I don't even want to show to anyone right now. It's got freaking green hair algae all over it. I'm going to peroxide dip all the rocks, do a big water change, get that tank prepared. So while these guys are in quarantine having a good time, I'm going to go put all the fish in the other tank through some torture as I go peroxide a bunch of shit in the tank. But it needs it. It's the hair algae's out of control. I've got the Amanos and I've got the Autos, but tank's probably a little bit small for the Siamese algae eaters, and so for now, look at this guy. He's got that nice blue in there. Good color on that guy. Alright, until next time, guys.